you may not know what it's about. Your children are already here for Balavihar, and many parents expressed an interest in having some additional enrichment for them. So we started these classes several years ago. The classes we currently offer are Swaranjali, which is a music class. We have Shlokathon, which is a pretty long program to learn several shlokas of various deities. And we have Gita chanting, which is reinforcement of the Gita chanting we do in the assembly, including memorization. And we have language classes. So in Chitrakoot, currently we have Hindi language class. We have offered other classes in the past. Obviously, the class, as they say, is Vidya Sandhi. So you have to have Acharya and Shishya, then only you can have a Sandhi of class. So that's what the Saitri Upanishad says. So same thing here. So when we have enough interest from the students and from volunteers to teach, then we have a class. So these are the classes we currently have. So Swaranjali class, let me talk about that briefly. We have the Swaranjali teacher here. Vidyaji, if you don't mind, so people can come and talk to you after the assembly if they have questions regarding music class. She teaches along with Pushpa Bhatt in C1. Your children will have, you saw the Ganesh Puja today, okay? If your children were in that class, they would be the ones singing, not Vidyaji today, okay? Whenever we have puja on stage, the children in the Swaranjali class get to sing that song. And she trains them, so it would be a good idea if if a child is interested in singing. It doesn't have to be a great singer or anything. We are not teaching Patu or classical music here, so they just need to have interest in singing the Lord's song and they can participate. So I highly encourage you to consider it. She's a very ardent teacher. She has been teaching for many years here before and she's come back to serve us again, so please take advantage of this opportunity. Then we have the Hindi class. He's a Hindi teacher here? Yeah. Can you get up so people can see you? So she is also a very good teacher here. We want to have your children learn the opportunity, use this opportunity to learn Hindi. I know that several of you would like the children to be able to read road signs and bus numbers and so on when they go back to India. She teaches more than that, but I'm just saying that at least a minimum. So consider enrolling your child for that class. Now the only challenge you have really is you can only enroll for one of these classes because they are all held concurrently from 10:45 to 11:45. So just after this assembly is over, the children and the Balavihar is over, they get to go to these classes and they attend for an hour and they are done. Okay. So that's the Hindi class. And then we have the Gita chanting class. So every week we are learning 1 or 2 verses of chapter 5 this year. And we do this every year. We learn a different chapter each year. So if the child goes through this program, in the Gita chanting class, they get to learn how to chant this correctly. So when Sanjana ji says it here, they don't really have the time to absorb the nuances, the difference between the tha, tha, da, dha and all that. So these nuances as well as the aspirations where you have to breathe differently, how to use your tongue differently, and how you combine letters when you have visarga, how do you change that into r or f or whatever, those kind of, all those things they learn. So even without their actual awareness, they are learning how to say Sanskrit correctly, speak Sanskrit correctly. So it's a very, we have the best teacher in the whole world, I think, in C1. Okay, there's beyond doubt. So I would think you should probably take advantage of this because she has not only trained several students over several years, she has actually helped them win the national competition this year in Chicago, as you saw in the announcements. So I would urge you strongly to learn this because Gurudev always insisted on Gita. Gita was this thing that he strongly felt about and talked about. So we emphasize Gita in Chinmaya Mission, and here we are doing a small part. The children are only learning 1 chapter a year. So it's not very onerous, it's easy to do. They can easily memorize 2 verses a week or 1 verse a week and get it done. And then at the end of the year, we have a competition. The children get to participate in that competition. It is just for them to vouch themselves that they have memorized it. If they make mistakes, no big deal. Of course, the students who don't make any mistakes get a recognition and they get an award. But everybody is a winner because they all put in their effort to learn it. So strongly urge it. Now, don't think this is only for the children. You can also learn. Okay. You can also participate in the competition. They are graciously agreed to even allow you to compete just so that you have somebody who is more experienced verify your utterance and tell you whether you did it right or not. Okay. So I put you on the spot there. All right, and then I want to talk about Shlokathon. This is a wonderful program that we adopted about 25 years ago from the Houston Center. They were already doing it. And it's a program where the children learn 2 or 3 hymns about a deity. For example, if you take Ganesha, they will learn the Ganapati Stavam, Ganesh Tuti, Ganesha Pancharatnam, and that's it. So three different hymns about Ganesha, 2 of Guru, 3 of Saraswati, and so on. So the thing is, now when you go to the temple, some of you are well equipped to teach your children and tell them what to do, and some of you are not. But when the children are in this program, they are equipped to tell you what to do. Okay, they will tell you, Mom, I know, I'll take care of this, I know this, I'll cover this. And they know for each god at least one hymn to chant. Okay, so it's a very nice thing. It's a pretty long program because there are about 250 verses to learn and memorize. So, but there's no hurry. The thing is, you start in K and finish in 12, that's fine, no problem. You go at your own pace. And the children who are very gung-ho about it, they want to finish in 1 or 2 years, and they do that. And the thing is, at the end of the program, we recognize them in the banquet. We have a banquet coming up this year in December, like every year. And in the banquet, we'll have one eminent Swamiji visiting us from Chinmaya Mission, from other centers. And he will be the chief guest, and he will award the trophy to these children. So it's a pretty prestigious thing because even I see so many parents when I go to their homes, they proudly display their children's Shlokathon trophies in the front room. The children have long gone to college and gone to work, and they are still holding these trophies so that they can give it to them when they buy their homes. It's a very prized thing. So but the thing is, even if you don't complete it, you get a plaque with the stickers for every deity you have learned, and the child still gets the enrichment and nourishment of the program. Even if they do not complete, it's so valuable because just to know that they can chant in a language that they never speak, so fluently, correctly, with the proper diction and everything, improves memorization because they're learning something quite challenging for them. And so in many ways, this is a very good program. So I would encourage your children to sample it at least. Make sure to sample it before you make up your mind, hey, this is for us or this is not for us. So just sample it. Now, let me ask you a quick question. How many of you here are reasonably comfortable with Sanskrit and chanting verses and so on? Okay, if you would like to serve, please contact me or contact Ramesh ji, and we'll help you. You can help with these programs because we always are in need of teachers, and we can use your help. It's not like you have to be a great teacher or anything. If you can chant Ramaya, Rambudraya, Ramachandraya Vedase, you're good enough to help these children who cannot chant that. That's all it is, right? So, and that's it. I won't take any more of your time. You have any questions? Yes, it's amazing sometimes to see these tiny tots who have, blazed through the whole program, and they come to collect the trophy and they can't lift it. So it's awesome.
I think we have one girl that was shorter than the trophy.
Yeah, so the parents proudly take it home, and the children get to display it in the room and so on. So go for it. Hari Om.
All right, so we'll go ahead and start with our opening prayers of Om Sahana Bhavatu. Then Vakriturna Mahakaya Saraswati Namastubhyam, then Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu. Then we will chant the first verse. This time we won't do lead and repeat, we'll just chant together that whole verse. And today we will get into the second instruction of Sadhana Panchakam. It was hilarious last week. Somebody came up to me and said, is this the right text? I was like scrolling through the whole text and I didn't know where you were. I'm like, it's just the first couple of words. We're not moving very fast in this, but it's good to spend time looking at each sadhana, especially in the beginning. Those first couple sadhanas are foundational. So I'm in no hurry. You're in no hurry. Let's get into it. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Reva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. All right, so the very first verse we'll chant together. Ready? Vedo nityam adhiyatam taduditam karma svanushthiyatam tene shasya vidhiyatam apachitihi kamye matistyajyatam papogaf paridhuyatam bhavasukhe dosho nusandhiyatam atmecha vyavasiyatam nijagrahat turnam vinirgamyatam. So we saw last time, Vedo nityam adhiyatam, that may we continuously, daily study the Vedas. And we'd seen that Vedas require to be considered as Shruti. They cover all 6 aspects of our life. So starting with Jiva, Jagat, Jagadishvara, so the 3 J's, then Dharma, Sadhana, and last one, I'm forgetting it myself. Moksha, yes, thank you, the goal as well. So all 6 have to be covered when it is considered as a Shruti. But in order to get into that, it becomes very difficult. It is a vast forest of Sanskritam that we are not equipped to wander through. So therefore, we have many texts that are written to expand and explain and dive deep into any specific aspect. And so they are then known as Prakarana Granthas, preparatory, explanatory texts that help us in becoming ready to understand the depths of the Vedas. So Sadhana Panchakam is such a text. The last text that Adi Shankaracharya ji spoke to his students about, and it is the first text we take up during our Vedanta studies, because it starts from the very basics and brings us all the way through the qualifications to study the rest of it. Vedo nityam adhiyatam, study the Vedas daily. Nothing can start without us knowing what to do. That knowing what to do is downloading knowledge itself. It reminds me of a scene in The Matrix where Neo, he's the main character, just learning how to get into this new realm of getting plugged in. And there was one scene where he said, oh no, there are enemies there. I don't know karate, I don't know how to use the guns. So what do? Click, 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 download information, and in 2 seconds he knew all martial arts and all weaponries. Wish we could do that, don't we? In fact, with AI, we never know. But downloading that knowledge system is the very first step. We can't go anywhere without it. Therefore, the Shastras that is meant to help us with life should be studied so long as I live. Is it not? The more and more I live, the more and more I need to study about life itself. Therefore, nityam. Not just daily, not just like a to-do list saying, okay, I've done my Shastric study for 20 minutes every day. Anytime and every time I need to supplement my understanding the world around me, let me hit the books, let me go find the answers in Shastras. She is my alambana. There's nowhere else I need to go. Therefore, daily I study. This is again back in the golden times. This was taught in the Gurukula systems. Both males and females would enter that Gurukula system. And they would enter at the age of maybe less than even 6 or 7 years old. Very young. And they would be taught the Shastras. Interestingly, what's the first thing that these students learn when they enter the Gurukula systems? Gayatri Japa. They get a Yajnopavita Samskara done. Then they enter in, the guru and especially the father gives the mantra to the child, and the guru takes up that upasana and teaches them, and that is all they're taught for the first year. Why? Because the very act of discipline, the act of controlling the mind, the act of learning to sit still for a long period of time is the foundation. A lot of parents I've noticed in the last year and a half have come up to me and saying, I don't know what to do with my kid. They are crazy. They can't sit still for more than 5 minutes. And don't even get me started on today's social media and technology. They can't last more than that 10 seconds, 30-second videos. This is what our generation has come to. Good observation, yes. But what is our solution? Come back to the Shrutis. She's always my support system. What have we been doing as our tradition? For a child as young as 3 or 4, they are taught the act of Sandhya Vandana and Gayatri Japa. Because it is that very practice that enables them to control themselves. No external force, as much as we love to be the good parent that can control our kids, really the best parenting is when they can control themselves. So equipping them with that skill set comes through this practice of Gayatri Japa. First thing is, Gayatri Japa is every Sandhya. Every time there's a transition in time, whether it is dawn, noon, or evening, whenever there's that Sandhya, that change, there's an attention to time. Then when that recognition is there, there's also Surya Bhagwan that we recognize as the giver of life. So again, connection to that cosmic realm. Then with that, with the Gayatri mantra to say Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha, there's 14 worlds and all together, knowing that world is beyond just my comprehension. Then sitting down from the sadhana aspect, saying this water I offer as my prayer to you, O Bhagwan Surya, so that you may nourish me. Gayatri Devi, may you be that knowledge in me. That sense of bhava and dedication comes in. Then the actual practice of sitting down like this. We've lost that ability as we grow up, don't we? The kids can sit like amazing yoga styles. We don't even need to ask. They're watching TV and they're contorting in front of the TV stand. But you utilize that. Saying now with this ability, sit straight, get that posture solidified so that never change going forward. Then with the dexterity of the fingers, and every Shivratri, it amazes me how much the high schoolers have trouble doing japamala. Just, okay, putting your hand like this, putting the japamala here, and then with the middle finger rotate it with every mantra, they're all like, what? What? They're good at this. They're good at this. But this, no. So that also gets taught. There's this, fine motor skills also incorporated here. Then the connection between thought, breath, and action. That coordination is also very important. That when I think, instead of all 100 thoughts, just one thought. And being able to count one thought after the other and recognizing the pauses in between. How much discipline will that mind get just by thinking and coordinating those 3 things? And pranayama is the best access point. It's the plug point to change my mind. That if I am angry, my breath will show. If I'm in deep sleep, the calmest state I've ever found myself to be in, breath will show. So there is a science that has been understood between the relationship between the thought and the mind. Why not tap into it? Taught to a 3-year-old. Then finally putting all that together. Recognizing the cosmic level, Bhagwan in Brahman form itself, recognizing Bhagwan in Ishvara form, the cosmic state, Then recognizing Bhagwan in his functional aspect, meaning in Bhagwan Surya, he is the life giver. In Bhagwan Ganeshji, he is the obstacle remover. In Saraswati Devi, she is the knowledge, the functional standpoint. Finally comes to the very end of my own self, the dharmic standpoint. Every avatara only comes in because he's there to reestablish dharma by protecting the sadhus and getting rid of the obstacles to any sadhus. So from absolute, cosmic, departmental, and avatara, the dharmic state, all three things are involved in Gayatri Japa. And again, who is this taught to? 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds. What an amazing foundation for that student to start with. Once that has been inbuilt, they live in that ashram and serve in that ashram. It is the opportunity for the guru to get to know the personality of that shishya, and that shishya then becomes in tune with what is the expectations of the guru. There is an adjustment period during that time, and it is through that seva bhava that is constantly done during the ashram. A wonderful experience happens, especially in our Vedanta course. We got a glimpse of this, where we as students get to know the guru as well, that before he can even ask, we should be able to do it. Where does that attunement come from? Constant observation, that observation of details is really also a tapas for the mind as well. Then comes all of the Vedas that is slowly taught, starting with Sanskritam, stutis, stotrams, Vedic chanting, and then comes the meaning of all of it. There's a very systematic way of teaching in a Gurukula system that is in tune with the natural mental development of the student. So let's not skip around and negate saying, why should I chant because I don't understand anything? Shut up and chant. You'll figure it out later. There's a reason why. Also, mantras have its own effect without understanding as well. Have we not, even if you take like songs, especially when you're really young or in college, high school, you may or may not have that one song that you just need the first 2 notes of that song and you can sing the rest of it. Because it gets instilled in you that mental, the training, the tracks that are developed in the brain again and again is done even through simple, meaningless songs. So how can the mantras have such a stronger effect on our own mind? That have a science inbuilt to it, the vibrations built into it, the very essence of Bhagwan inbuilt into every akshara of that letter, let alone the entire mantra and its meaning all inbuilt into it. Just the mere practice of saying and listening can have its effect as well. So all of this is equipping the child again and again to become better and fortified for the next stage in life. Vedo nityam adhiyatam. This is done in the Gurukula systems. So, once in these Gurukula systems, both the sacred and, again, quote unquote, sort of liberally, the secular aspects as well. We saw last time that it is not only the end of the Vedas, Vedanta, or aka Upanishads, not only is that taught, but all the Karma Kanda parts as well is taught. When I say Karma Kanda, yes, it also includes the ritualistic aspects, but it is also any action that requires to be performed, all of that is also accounted for. So, we have any Vedas is both Karma Kanda plus Jnana, the actions or ritualistic parts, plus the Upanishad and the knowledge of the self. So it is said here that Vedas are Sarthavada, Mantra Vidhi Kalapaha. Sarthavada, Mantra Vidhi Kalapaha. Sarthavada means along with Sahita, Arthavada. Every Vedic ritual has the Devata that is being invoked. So again, this reminds us of Indra, Varuna, Vayu, Ashwini. Have we ever done Gropravesha? And there is that symbolic Purusha that is designed on the floor with different aspects, and each limb represents a different Devata. It is the recognition of the forces of the world around us in this particular form. Even in Purusha Suktam, each one is also invoked. So, what do these ritualistic or devatas represent? It's just like in a country, do we not have a government system? In a government system, each office has a different department, each one has a different role, and we have to go and appease each one with certain documentations, with certain language, and if we get it wrong, they send us back, and we have to go back. What is it? RFEs, request for further evidence. So, just like how there is very specific methodology, procedures, and even vocabulary, is in the same way rituals that are invoking specific devatas within that yajna also has its own procedures, meaning puja vidhi, and it also has its own mantras, verbiage or documentation. And if we get any words wrong in a legal document, don't we get in trouble? Why wouldn't we get in trouble if we got a mantra wrong? Which is why we need to know the difference between ta and ta, and ta and ta. There's a huge difference. So, just like how we have to be particular in invoking the government system in a particular office or department, in the same way, any interaction we have in the world, there is a particular procedure and methodology to it. So these rituals for each devata is seeking a particular requirement in life, whatever that may be. And we'll see more of this when we reach the next step, taduditam karma svanushtiyatam. I'll speak about that a little bit later. But this process by which we seek assistance from the various governing deities is the principle. This petition is called as yajna. And this yajna becomes a major part of the karma kanda portion. So that is sarthavada. Vidhi is how to perform that yaga. And mantras are what is the words to use while performing that yaga when performing those rituals. So again, Karma Kanda plus Jnana Kanda equals Vedas. And this Karma Kanda is Sarthavada, Mantra, Vidhi, Kalapaha. So these are the sections or organization of the Vedas that is there. Now, let's not underestimate the Karma Kanda part, because when we think of Karma Kanda, what do we think of? The rain ritual. Or in the Native Americans, I think they have a rain dance. And we think, what is that? That's superstitious. How could that be possible? But in fact, it can be done, and there has been evidence that when such yagas are performed, those results have been given. That either as soon as that yaga is finished, it starts to rain, or after a particular time, even now, there have been places where they have done such things, and we have seen those results ourselves. So again, we need to put aside our Western, secular, scientific angle of proof through disproof. Do you remember this from the first class? We need to get rid of that kind of angle of analysis and bring in some shraddha, saying, there must be a reason why it's in here. I may not be doing it perfectly, but let me see what is possible. So, there are many examples in our Shastras when you take Puranas itself. When we talk about Karma Kanda yagas, we think of Putra Kameshti Puja, Ashwamedha Yaga. So throughout the Puranas, there are plenty of examples to show how many of these rituals are out there. And Bhagavad Gita solidifies that this is something that can be done. Because in the very beginning of chapter 3, I don't remember the exact verses, but the meaning goes is that with Brahmaji created Manusha, mankind, with the ability of yajna, the ability of sacrifice. Now with this ability, may you offer to the devatas and may the devatas offer to you. And with this mutual relationship, may both of you attain Kamaduk. Very interesting Vedic style of explaining that whenever there is something being offered, a result will naturally occur from the forces of the world around us, represented by the devatas. Therefore, by consciously giving and receiving this mutual relationship, may we attain that kamaduk, anything that we desire. So this principle of yajna, yaga, and phala is an inbuilt phenomenon that is understood by the rishis. It takes us time to figure it out because we're crusted in our own vocabulary and world viewpoint. But to get out of that viewpoint and get into the viewpoint of the Vedas takes some time and Shraddha to do so. So, Sarthavada Mantra Vidhi Kalapaha. Now in this Gurukula system, when we say both spiritual and secular, what we just talked about was maybe the spiritual aspect. Even the secular aspect is also talked about. We have 14 complete branches of knowledge systems, and the best example to remember that both were taught was by understanding the Gurukula system that the Pandavas went through. Again, I go back to Itihasas and Puranas because they're the audio and visuals of whatever is being taught in our Vedas. When each of those Pandavas went into the Gurukula system, what did they end up learning? The Guru knew that each one had a particular personality. They had certain skill sets that they were really in tuned with, and they encouraged that. My favorite one is Bhima. He learned the Niti Shastras because he was a Kshatriya. He learned all the Vedas that were required for the foundations of life, but his speciality was, does anyone know what he was known for other than his strength and battlefield? Cooking. So he learned the Paka Shastra, how to cook, and the best eater makes the best cooks. I never trust a skinny person inside of a kitchen, though there are exceptions. But those that can enjoy flavors and its nuances also know how to create it, and even that has an entire Shastra given to teach Bhima. Then for Nakula and Sahadev, one was Jyotisha Shastra, the other one, I forget the Sanskritam name, but it is husbandry, not finding husbands. It's caretaking of animals. So he was our first veterinarian. So like that, each one had their speciality and they learnt it. Arjuna was the most unique case. Why? Because his mainstream was archery. His passion was archery. His job was archery. He's the only one who had straightforward intentions with all of his likes and dislikes. Archery, archery, archery. Arjuna means straightforward, like an arrow. So these are good examples to remember that any student that walks into a Gurukula system learns the foundation of life, learns the highest knowledge, along with anything and everything that is required for them to contribute back into society once they leave. Now, once that person leaves that Gurukula system, don't worry, the parents are already eager to get them back into their hands. They've missed their child for almost 12 to 14 years. It requires this much amount of time to really train and build up that character. We have the same 12 years here in the Western system, but honestly, it's a vocational training that lacks so much character development. So in fact, when you look at Puja Gurudev's vision for the education system, he started the Chinmaya Vidyalaya schools because they wanted to be a value-based learning. Therefore, this is fresh in my mind because Swami Swarupananji just visited us last week or so. And when we looked at the curriculum of CIRS, the Chinmaya International Residential Foundation, students from here are sent there so that they may live in that school system with a teacher for 12 years. What kind of development can be really instilled in that child when you live with a guru? You can't find that anywhere else. Value-based learning, a holistic character development along with any vocational training that matches that student really well. That's true education. That is what a Gurukula system is all about, which I feel like we need to start bringing back more and more as much as possible for our own kids. So once they come back, don't worry, the mom and dad already have portfolios sitting on their desk. What are these portfolios? Fiancés, ready to future fiancés, your spouse, because it naturally steps into the next stage of life. At this point, even the Shastras understand that there is a natural development or natural needs that occur at this time, mentally emotionally and biologically, the need for a companion, a need to share the life with someone else is very natural at this point. Therefore, an entire infrastructure is given to dharmically exhaust those natural needs. Therefore, having the entire family come together, looking at the potential candidates for our child, and seeing who matches the best with what their goals are. It takes a village to raise a child, right? It takes a village to find that spouse for that child. But once they enter into the grahastha ashrama, it is the most profound transition, which is why vivaha samskara is so celebrated. Even when I was growing up, the idea of marriage was being tossed around, and I'm like, I don't want a big wedding. Now, granted, that's a whole other story now, but we see that many students today treat marriage as a epic party to have, right? That it has to be grand, there has to be flowers, there have to be, drinks and food, and then we really have to have the best DJ. But really, what is the heart of a vivaha samskara? That there are two individuals on the path of evolution that are matched enough that they can help each other in their own evolution. That means both they have like-mindedness and they have enough qualities opposites to each other to challenge each other. Both is required. And with the blessings of both the parents, relatives, friends, family, and the entire community coming to bless them is a big part of that. So although there might be some annoyances, I don't want a big wedding. There's so many people with so many politics and drama. I don't need that at my wedding. But it is to remember that it is that very community that I'm going back into. It is that very society that I have to help and contribute. Therefore, I must learn to love and give even in such a complex society. So that wedding itself becomes the very initiation into that bhava, that this is important. Bhagwan is in the center of this celebration because nothing matters beyond Bhagwan. This marriage and my evolution is so that I may reach him. This companion that I have found is best suited for me so that both our sadhanas can evolve. And by supporting each other, may we become the better pillars of society so that I may give back to those that are around me that have come to attend my own wedding. Isn't that a holistic next step in our sadhana? Therefore, grahastha ashrama is the foundation of Sanatana Dharma. It is the very support of society. It is the pillar of Hinduism. Why do I say that? Because it is the only ashrama that has the earning capacity and the capacity to give. It is the grahastha ashrama that supports brahmacharis in the Gurukula systems. It is the grahastha ashrama that supports the vanaprasthas, the elderly that live with us. Therefore, it is also part of our responsibility to take care of the young and the old. And it is also the grahastha ashrama that gives and supports sannyasis. All other ashramas depend on grahastha ashrama. Therefore, their hard work, labor of the grahastha ashrama, I offer my salutations. To all of the noble grahasthas who have become, who with their support, we are able to follow our own duties. Therefore, understanding that grahastha ashrama becomes very important. The foundation and attitude in a grahastha ashrama is dedicated performance of action. Those words I pick up very specifically because they are very much tied into the karma yoga siddhanta. Dedicated performance of action. That dedication is the umbrella and protection, the very tree trunk of this culture. So that is when we see the next step in Sadhana Panchakam, that Vedo Nityam Adhiyatam. We study the Vedas daily. Now that I'm prepped and downloaded all that information, what is my next step? Taduditam karma svanushthiyatam. Perform diligently the duties or karmas ordained by them. So When we say tat uditam, I'm going to break down these Sanskritam words just a little bit here. We want to split it and say tat uditam, but that's actually not the correct way to break those words. It is not a samasta compound, meaning that you just put two words together and you combine it and therefore it's a compound, like the word lunchbox, right? But here it means that these two words put together reference something else. It's a different kind of compound. Tena uditam. Tat becomes tena. Tat means that. Tena then says, by that. Tena uditam. By what? What do you mean by that? What's that? What are we referencing? By that Vedas. Vedo nityam adhiyatam. So by those Vedas, Vedaha nityam uditam. Uditam literally translates to stated, told, or said. By those Vedas that is said, but really here it means we want to take it one step deeper. In Puja Gurudev's translation, he uses the word ordained. It has a heavier feel to it, does it not? Ordained by those shastras is what we have to follow. Swanushtiyatam. Swa, or the beginning, becomes su. Su means sushtu. Very well. Incredibly well. Anu. Anu means minute, detail, atomically precise. I'm trying to give all these words to get the image that we so perfectly, in every absolute detail, we perform it so well. Su anu tishthiyatam. So the whole word put together, swanushthiyatam. To perform with absolute detail so well the actions or ordained instructions by the Vedas. I'm spending time here to pick apart the word because we don't get to appreciate the depth of Sanskritam unless we sit and look at every syllable of that word. One word, swanushthiyatam, quickly translated as actions, perform. But look at the way that word was constructed. Perform with utmost detail, so well done, according to what is being ordained by the Shastras. So, perform to perfection the actions ordained by the Vedas. Whatever it is that you've studied, you follow it according to it. Swami Purushottananda ji once said that first understand, then stand under. First understand, then stand under. So we understood when we were in the Gurukula system, but how do I put that into action? That is when Grahastha Ashrama becomes the most important ashrama. And don't leave a trace of incompleteness. Do your best. Of course, as soon as I hear the word do your best, I think of Puja Gurudev's statement, do your best and leave the rest. But what do we use that statement for? An excuse for our own incompleteness, our own mistakes, for any laziness and inconveniences we have. So let us not misuse that powerful statement by Puja Gurudev. Do my best. Have I done justice to that part? Then the rest will follow. What does the best mean? Do not leave a trace of incompleteness. I should feel worried. Because at this point, when I look at my own actions, my own day-to-day thinking, speaking, and actions, I'm pretty sure I have left a lot of things incomplete. That is why I hold on to kayena vacha manasendriyeva. And that too, it's very well designed, the kshama prarthana in puja. Bhagwan, please forgive me for any mistakes I've performed on a level of action, speech, and thoughts. Now we really have to sit with that. How many times have I thought the wrong things? How many times have I flippantly thought things that should not have been thought? Do I have control over even that level? Do not leave a trace of incompleteness, even at the level of thoughts. So, karma here, we often, again, quickly translate to saying actions. But we just saw actions, speech, and thoughts are all required. And therefore, there is a deeper understanding of the word karma. So I just realized I ran out of time. I hoped I would reach farther here. I apologize that I wasn't able to reach farther. But next time when I speak, we will pick up this idea of karma itself. It is not just actions. There is a, a tree diagram, a flow chart that comes into understanding the depths of what karma is. And if you want to challenge yourself, I would suggest go through chapter 3 or chapter 4 of Bhagavad Gita, Holy Gita, from Puja Gurudev. And in one of those verses, there's a diagram that comes up where we talk about karma. And I'll give you some key words to look for here. You have Vihita, Nitya, Naimitika, Kamya, and Prayaschitta. So again, I'll repeat these words, take note of this, and see if you can find it in Bhagavad Gita itself. Most likely it's in chapter 3, if not chapter 4 for sure. So, karma, nitya, naimitika, kamya, and prayaschitta. Nitya, we should know, eternal. Naimitika, on special occasions. Kamya, based on kamas, desires I may have. And prayaschitta, if I've done something wrong, there's things I should do to rectify that. So see if we can find it, and we will explore these concepts next week. Therefore, I have not moved on from instruction number 2. Hopefully, I'm thinking this is going to be an exponential growth, that it'll be slow in the beginning, and we'll pick up by the end. My goal is still to finish all 40 instructions by the end of this year, but we shall see next time. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Thank you.